Hello and welcome everyone to our community empowerment training today on March 9th. We have one day after International Women's Day, and I know that some of you were highly involved in that, like Marilena here with us from Rome. So March is International Women's History Month, and someone asked me yesterday, Sylvia, do we still really need that? Yes, 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 yes. And we need it together with men. So this is why I'm so happy to see now we have every week 1, 2, 3 more and more men showing up here as well. Because yes, I am a proud feminist, and feminism is nothing against men. Feminism is a movement filled by men and women who believe in the power of love, partnership, and the power of diversity and inclusion. And the world needs evolved leaders who together create a world that works for everyone. This is why we meet here every week and have this community empowerment training, because what we are doing is we are dismantling the patriarchy, which is the current cultural paradigm, which is not only hurting women, it's hurting men too, because it's a cultural paradigm, power over others. And it's rooted in a deep disconnect, not only between the genders, but also disconnect between our mind and our heart, the disconnect between our soul and our everyday life self, the disconnect between us humans and the divine, the disconnect between humans and nature and the planet Earth. And it's time that we all step out of this unsustainable paradigm, because exploitation of humans and exploitation of the planet is not sustainable. And this is why we are here. We are meeting to evolve as leaders. And I'm honored and happy to be your mentor and trainer. I'm Sylvia Becker-Hill. I'm in the industry of change management, the industry of coaching and executive consulting and change management now for over 23 years. And my core question, and that is from my early childhood, watching my parents, who I loved deeply, being not in a happy, fulfilled state in their life. My core question is, what do what do we humans need to be, simply, it's really a simple question, what do we need to be happy? And living in a culture which is exploitative and uses power based in greed because of the paradigm and belief of scarcity of resources is not the right system, or the water the fish swims in. We fish want to stay swimming in. So this is why we are here together. And I'm so happy to see here a few new faces and names. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are a community, so whenever you have a question, if you are on video, you can raise your hand, or if you are not visible with video, you can use the emoticons on the bottom of your Zoom screen. It is an interaction here, and by showing up here to give me the permission to record it, and you are able to watch the replay. So if you leave earlier, remember at the minute, more or less, when you left. So when the replay is up on our YouTube channel, you can jump right in where you left. We use the chat room here intensively to introduce ourselves to each other. When you do, please always put in where you are chiming in from, because that helps the brain to create a geographical map. And also, if you are a viewer on YouTube, just become aware from where people are chiming in, because we all live together on this beautiful planet. And one of parts of our mission is to create a global community. And right now we have here North America, Europe, and Africa present. And this is just such a joy and honor here for me. We are today in part 2 of a series, but no worries, I try to make the content today in itself close, but to get the full depths, and you missed last week's, please go back into YouTube and watch part 1 as well. And we also like to do a bit of a ritual when we come on, because some of you, it's already late evening, you had a full day, you might not be fully present. Or me coming more or less out of bed, out of my night, I need maybe something to be fully present myself here too. So let's do one of our rituals. And today we do the very simple one with the clapping and the 1, 2, 3. So I just, without big explanation, do it. And those of you who already know how it works, you do it with me. And if you are in the replay watching it, please always do everything we do here too, even if you just watch the replay, because one of our big mottos is, and I know those of you, you are here right now muted, but you can speak it out loud with me. My information doesn't provide your transformation. Your engagement does. So let's be engaged. Let's align us here, being here on the count of 3. We start with our hands. We clap 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now we shake out 3 times our hands. 1, 2, 3. Now we clap, crossing our arms 3 times on our shoulders. 1, 2, 3. And now we throw our arms into the air and shake out our arms 3 times. 1, 2, 3, because that generates high energy and joy. And now for the last bit, we stomp 3 times with our feet on the ground to really ground and earth us where we are. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And if you, this is just a tiny thing, but most of us, we live now literally like cyborgs, connected to our screens, being on Zoom from one Zoom meeting to the next. So just remember this little trick. What we are doing is literally aligning our conscious mind with our subconscious mind. We are waking up the body. And because of this crossing, we are making sure that our both hemispheres and the corpus callosum in the middle are awake for our intense learning here in the next 20-30 minutes. So we are about to dismantle the nasty, sort of nasty, it's a survival mechanism, but nasty habit of our brain to constantly judge. And we defined last week what a mania is and what the advantages of the judge mania are and the disadvantages. So please go back and watch part 1 if you haven't. So what we are going to do here today is I give you the 3rd distinction I promised. Last week we had 2. Today I give you the 3rd distinction, which is so crucial for leaders to understand. And I give you today only 1 because it's so deep and life-changing. I believe today's, just if you ever watch only this one community empowerment training, I believe what I'm going to share with you has the power to change your life. And it's all the last week's 2 distinction and today are the intro into understanding how our brain works around judgment, so that next week we get into the promised focus or application to stop the negative judgmental self-talk where we judge ourselves, because that is often more difficult to let go of judging ourselves than all the rest of the world, even though some people who verbally sound like they only judge others, believe me, if you ever run into these super judgmental negative people, just know subconsciously their brain is even harder on themselves, because it's pain in them which drives and is projected onto others. And you will understand all of that in this training here, and hopefully get enough inspiration and information to work with that to change your own brain and your life. That given said, I repeat, my information doesn't provide your transformation. Your engagement does, here in live or in the replay, or even more important, in your life. And before I go now into the new content, there are a few faces here, but not many, who were here last week. Anyone from last week done the homework, the research, which I sometimes give you between sessions to see if things work? Linda, am I allowed to put you on the spot because you're nodding already? I know you were so engaged last week. Did you do a bit of research from last week to this week and have anything to share?
Well, what I did was when I was having conversations, I would consciously think about what I was saying, but then I would say to, like, in one example, my friend, I would say, "So what did you just hear me say?" And then she would repeat it. And then I would say, "Okay, this is what I just heard you say." And we kind of had a lot of fun going deeper into our conversation because I was misunderstanding a little bit about what she was saying and vice versa. So it was really interesting.
Beautiful. So what Linda is describing here practically, it's called, she had a meta communication, META, meta communication, which is communication about communication. That is for leaders so crucial. You have to have a lot of meta communication, especially when you hire on new team members and you clarify expectations. And that is not only in the corporate, in the business world, also privately. If you ever fall in love or are looking for a new spouse or so, you need to make a lot of meta communication, because as more emotions, hormones, or in the corporate world right now under the pandemic, etc., as more stress we are involved, stress causes the release of stress hormones, the rate of misunderstandings is skyrocketing. And when I look into the world, watch the news, or check what's going on social media, it's horrifying for me how little people do meta communication, which Linda so beautifully described. It is checking in, and that was a distinction from last week. Let me see if I can quickly show you what we did. What Linda is referring to is to the image of the tower here, the sender and the receiver. This shall symbolize an ear. So what she did is she was owning as a leader that in every communication there is a sender and there is a receiver. And there is always a gap in what the sender is sending and what the receiver is literally unpacking and understanding. So by owning that distinction between receiver and sender, you as a leader take ownership and responsibility for the constant existence of misunderstanding. I forgot which philosopher said it, but there were these famous words around 100 years ago, which I have to quickly concentrate because I learned them in German. Something like, successful communication is a statistical unlikeliness. I say it again, successful communication is statistically an unlikeliness. But we go through our day as if everyone thinks and hears the words and the meaning the same way we do. And given the fact that we, in order to step out of the patriarchy, need to create a more diverse and inclusive society globally, we are merging cultures, histories, different languages, different experiences, it's the growing diversity and inclusion needs you as evolved leader to own the fact that communication is not as easy as social media and everyday life wants to make it. And you have to have, like Linda did, meta communication, which means when you are the sender, you need to check in with a simple question, well, how Linda phrased it so beautifully. Please tell me in your words what you heard me saying. So you create a feedback loop. And depending what the other person says, that meta communication feedback loop can be like a ping pong game, being something going back and forth for a while. But I tell you, even though it takes some time at the start of any kind of new relationship, I promise you, it creates a beautiful bond. It creates a mutual connection. It creates a better understanding how the other person ticks. It avoids more misunderstandings in the future. It avoids conflicts. And I believe we would have a more peaceful and better world if every leader, corporate, profit, non-profit, politically, household leaders, if everyone would do more communication. Linda, I'm so happy you brought this in. And it's awesome, awesome, awesome. Any other research from last week's call? Any other shares or insights? No? Okay. Anne-Marie is my engagement facilitator. She watches our chat, and I saw she already put in the link. If you haven't gotten it through my emails to our one sheet, don't leave us now to print it, but in the future, I just want to remind you all, to use it. It's for every week the same, because I designed it with these frames to help your brain literally create a network, a visual representation for our trainings, so that you can put the nuggets and what you learn, the topic, the exercise, new names of new connections here, always in the same spots, which helps the brain to get into a learning habit and also helps the brain to remember things better. So you have the link in the chat box. All that given said, are you ready for the new content? I hope you are. And for me to make the view of my easel bigger, I switch now to speaker view. If you are not speaking, please put yourself on mute. Now, Linda, you are big, right? Can you see me and my easel big? Okay, awesome, good, because I see myself right now small, but that's fine. So today's distinction is a mix of linguistics, philosophy, and quantum physics. And as a disclaimer, I'm not very well trained in physics. I grew up in Germany, where when I was a teenager at high school, my physics teacher was sadly a complete chauvinist and believed that girls shouldn't even be in his classroom. And he sent us up in the classroom to the highest rows, telling us, oh, girls, come on, pick your stuff, go up. You have permission to knit and play cards, as long as you don't disturb us men down here. And then he called all the boys to the front rows. So my education in physics is minimal. And I'm a frequent flyer. I flew around the world over 24, maybe 26 times. And still, I'm one of those excited little girls. When we land, I have to hold my hands back, not to applaud the pilot, because despite my husband and other men telling me a lot about aerodynamics, and I worked for Lufthansa and Lufthansa Technik, there is still in me a part in me which simply doesn't understand physics. For me, it's magic, how such a heavy thing like an airplane can fly, forget aerodynamics. It is a miracle. So I say that as a disclaimer, because I will talk a tiny bit about quantum physics. So this is book knowledge. So don't nail me with too deep questions there, because I use quantum physics a bit more like a metaphor to explain something about communication. I'm an expert in communication, and quantum physics knowledge is read by books, and I use it as a metaphor, not as a real true expert. So when we talk, when we say any kind of word, every word, and I apologize, I need to switch my view here because right now it's okay. When we say whatever word we use, every word we use has a so-called meaning, which is that in every society, I use in the moment English, this is here our common language. For example, let me have something simple here. This here is my smartphone. English, it says smartphone. My German word would be handy, also an English word. What? Here, let's have this. Marker, English, in German would be also marker. Oh my gosh, we in German, we don't have a lot of old German words anymore. So, okay, here. Lipstick, English. Lippenstift in German. And I would love to hear just a quick one, because we have several different languages here. Unmute yourself. What is the word you use to describe that thing, the lipstick, the Lippenstift?
In French, it's rouge à lèvres.
Ooh, gorgeous. Volanya, in your language, what is that? You are muted, my dear. Unmute yourself. You are sadly still muted. I come back to you. Marilena, Italian?
It's rossetto. So from red, rosso, because usually you put red. So it's rossetto, like little red.
Rossetto. Volagno?
Okay, it's called Ati.
Atik?
Yeah, Ati.
Cool. So cool. Do we have any other languages here present? Anyone speaking another language? So no? Okay. Sile, yes, another language?
In Spanish is pintalabios, which is paint your lips.
Ooh, I think I love that the most. So did you hear the different words? Could you sense that every word, because it has a different sound, it felt different? Isn't that crazy? All these different words are talking about the same thing. So what is now the meaning of that thing is what we as a society have agreed upon in your different countries of origin. Yeah, is it Italy or Spain or Germany, whatever country of origin, people agreed, let's call this thing X, Y, Z, and then you have the word for that thing. So that is the meaning of a thing. So now to go a tiny bit into linguistics, the general meaning of, I stay now with the lipstick, can have for each person in the same country, the same language, you use the same word, but it can have different stories or different experiences connected with it. Maybe that lipstick reminds me on, I don't know, something, I stole a lipstick from my mom and that was the only time she clapped me on my hands. Or I remember maybe my first lovers staying overnight and me leave early to go to work, and I left a love message on the mirror with my lipstick. Or I make it up here, stories. So we all have different, what? Am I too naughty? Sorry, my brain likes to go in this direction. So we all have stories and experiences with the same thing. So even though we all say, okay, this is a lipstick or the painty labia, I forgot the Spanish gorgeous word already, sorry. We all talk about the same thing, which has the same meaning in a community who have decided together, let's call it lipstick, but with all the different stories, experiences, and relationship. You have either a little or a big relationship. If you are, for example, a man or woman who doesn't like the taste of kissing someone with lipstick, you maybe hate lipsticks. If you are a lipstick fan and have 50 in your drawer, you're maybe a fan. So we all have, with everything, we have a relationship. We have a relationship to our phone, to our lipstick, to the marker. So all that experiences and stories and relationships create the so-called connotation. And here now it becomes already tricky. Remember judgment and misunderstandings in communication. You both use whatever it is in business. Let's say the word, oh, mistake or failure. Ooh, these are loaded words, right? So we all know the collective agreed upon meaning, but depending what your relationship is, and if you have made, for example, a costly mistake. I remember one of my executives, I think it was 2 years ago, I was coaching, an employee of his had made a mistake on a very expensive machine. That mistake cost his company or the client for whom they were doing that hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if it wouldn't have been found out early enough, it could have been a big danger. So depending which story you have with mistakes, the connotation, when a leader says the word, let's talk about our mistake rate or failure rate from last month, people in the room might, have completely different reactions. So when we go into the topic of judgment, we need as leaders to be aware, yes, we might use the same words, which officially have the same meaning, but the people in the room might have different connotations for that same word or thing. And that triggers in them, and now we get into a little bit of quantum physics, triggers in them different emotional reactions. So the key distinction today is not between meaning and connotation. Connotation is like a deeper layer of meaning. The key distinction I want you to get from today is, and I make now here, this circle symbolizes a so-called, what's the English word? what is the English word for the most micro, minuscule little particles? That's it. So this circle symbolizes a particle in the quantum field. So it's with a pure normal eye, you can't see it. So we live in the field of particles, and particles are hardly never, when I remember correctly, neutral. A particle has either a positive charge or a negative charge. And again, my disclaimer, I'm not good in physics. So our world, including here our computers, technology we are using here, operates with the tension and electricity and the field being created between particles who have either a positive or a negative charge. And I make it super simple because I'm not an expert in that. So the thing is, and this is now the core I want you to get today when it comes to judgment and judge mania. When we humans communicate, our brain operates so fast, hearing the words, trying to analyze the meaning, the connotations, and then we have a reaction to it. Like lipstick, you either say, "Ooh, great color, Sylvia. Where did you buy it? Can I get it? Or can I kiss you? Oh, the cherry tastes awesome." Or you think, "Ugh, I can't stand when women use lipstick. It makes them look so cheap and full of vanity, and I don't like to spend money on it." Or, "Oh my gosh, my last lipstick gave me an outbreak." So depending on your story, on your relationship, on your connotation, you have either a positive charge, "Ooh, I want that," or you have a negative charge, "Oh, go away with it." So this is, we have meaning. And the other concept I want you to take away from today is charge. And that is what I believe can change your life when you take this from today, because most people never think about that or know the distinction. Most people think that the charge they feel, now it comes, so this is tricky, I might say it several times. Most people, us, including myself subconsciously, we think the charge I feel, the let's call this the positive charge, and the negative charge aversion. Most people subconsciously believe and are completely convinced that what they feel, the positive affection charge or the aversion charge, that this is the reality of the thing. And I use here this very simple lipstick because it was on my desk, but this, you can take it to anything. I mean, hot topics like race. Yeah, I believe more and more now after my whole research, race in itself is a concept which doesn't even exist, yeah, which is completely made up, and everyone has a different connotation of it. So in my ideal version of a post-patriarchal society, we will throw the whole concept of race out the window. So my point is, when people talk about a thing, yeah, like a lipstick, and they have affection, "Ooh, I want it," they think the thing is good. "Ooh, I want it, I have a positive charge, so it must be good." Or they think because they don't like it, they have a negative charge, an aversion. "Ooh, yucky." They think, "Oh, that thing is negative. The thing is bad." And I need now, before I say anything else, one or two voices. I need a bit of feedback if I lost you, or is this too abstract, too philosophical? Are you with me? I need now metacognitive, communication. I need to hear in your words what you think you heard me saying. Anne-Marie, I think you had your hand up.
I was just saying I was following you. So what you're saying, as I understand it, is that most of us think subconsciously that how we feel about a word or an event or a concept is intrinsically in that thing, but we're bringing the charge to it. It's not intrinsically there.
Beautiful, beautiful. That perfect. And did you hear all what we did? Anne-Marie, you used different words than I did, but because they were yours, and I could now listen. And yes, they were different words, but they are related and aligned with what I tried to say. So now I feel, yes, Anne-Marie understood me. It's cool. Marilena, you are unmuted. Same idea.
Yes, no, I just wanted to complement what Anne-Marie was saying. So we are bringing the charge based on our personal experience with that thing. So that's how the charge is being created, either positive or negative. So either affection or aversion towards that thing.
Perfect. Exactly. I get goosebumps right now. I mean, seriously, everyone here, if this would be the last training ever, doesn't that change everything? Whatever you see on the news or your own discussions, and I apologize for all those not living in the United States. It's so intense here in the recent years. The whole horrible. I'm German. I'm not even a citizen, but I live here, so it affects me. The horrible fight daily between Republicans and Democrats. It's horrifying for me to watch and listen to that, because the Republicans claim the Democrats to be bad, and the Democrats claim the Republicans to be bad, because both groups project their negative charge, which is in them, their aversion, onto the other, and claim that that political party is what they feel. As evolved leader, you have to understand I start the thought differently. If you are committed to be free, powerful, and responsible, you as an evolved leader, what I like to call a luminary, you need to own the fact that you have a charge. And that charge is what Marilena said so nicely, you project, you bring to that thing, the person, the situation. And I'm not saying that there are things or people or groups or parties out there who have a different quality of impact on the environment. Sure, if you have two different parties, and I make it now in general, not to go into politics, different parties have different goals. Different companies have different goals. They sell different products, which have a different impact on society. We have a global climate crisis. We evolved leaders, we need to tackle that. There are companies who are still claiming that their products are good for the planet. And there are other researchers and scientists who already have proven they are poisoning or unhealthy and not good for the planet. So I'm not talking now here on a scientific, factual level, denying that there are things which are, you would say, positive, good for sustainable environment, for example, or not. What I'm talking about, and this is what we also have to distinguish, I'm talking about our communication and about our judgment mania. Our judgment mania is fed by the emotional charge we generate in our brain. And it's not only in our brain. When the brain dislikes something or likes something, in the hypothalamus, which is an area in the center of the brain creates peptide change, protein molecules, linked to the sensation of affection or aversion, and through the bloodstream, these peptide chains get flooded into our whole body and then inform different organs to do different things. Like affection, like physically, our whole muscle, our body is leaning towards when someone team meeting brings out an idea and you really love the idea and you get excited, you have a positive charge, your whole body leans in. If someone comes in the team meeting and and has a really bad news, like, hey, we have to cut off 25% of our employees in the next 12 weeks. Everyone is shocked and averse and goes back. So this charge in our brain has a huge impact on our physiological response. And all of that runs constantly. The judge mania runs constantly in our brain, every breath, every moment of our life. We are constantly, right now, you all of you have an affection for some things I say, and you have an aversion for some others. You maybe look into, the videos here. Ooh, what is she having behind her? What's the background? And you have either an affection. Ooh, I like that painting or backdrop. Or ooh, doesn't she know how horrible that looks? So we constantly have this judgmania going on, where the brain, literally, it's a bit like a wolf, like a decision maker. Positive, negative, 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 positive, 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 negative, negative, positive, constantly. That's the judgmania. The judgmania is a constant decision making in the brain between this and this. That's just biology. This is how we are constructed. There's nothing in itself bad. This is how we function. This is how our amazing, beautiful brain is able to make decisions fast. As always, whatever I teach you, I'm not judging our nature. What I'm committed to, what my intention is with the training here, is that you become aware and as conscious as possible, so that you can sometimes, not all the time, this would be exhausting. No one I have ever met, and I met some wonderful evolved gurus and people who are close to enlightenment, but as long as I think we are in a body and have a human brain and walk around this planet, no one is always in a state of no charge. Yeah, when you are a strong meditator, if you have a very strong spiritual practice, you will have experienced through that practice moments of blissful no charge inside your own field, sphere, and body. Who of you is following or can relate? Who of you has experienced moments in your life where, and if it's just a moment, where there was no affection and no aversion, and you just were, you are in the present being moment without charge? It is possible. Yes, Liz here has a thumb up, she's driving. Yes, that's the beauty of certain spiritual practices, yoga, meditation, and please, I'm not a proponent of just those. It's just my experience is limited. I have experiences of bliss, and bliss, I mean, not as, this is different. So bliss from happiness, most people would say, oh, happiness is affection, is positive. I mean the state of no charge. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. One of my mentors calls it the wizard gate. That's when you get into that spot without affection and aversion. This is the most powerful spot for you as a leader to create, to manifest. And there are neuroscience books out there who talk about this. And from my own experience, I'm not constantly training myself, but I have these kind of waves throughout my life where I spend some weeks or months working on that capability. And as a side note, for me, the most powerful training to get to this no charge state was a meditation retreat we called Vipassana. Vipassana is a global organization who teaches a certain meditation technique through retreats worldwide, free of charge, just by donation. And there I experienced that state for hours. So it is possible to get there, but no worries. I don't expect you to become monks and nuns and go to a monastery. As a working leader in your business, corporate, in your own businesses, I want to inspire you from today's session that you, again, like last week, first do your research in the next week to come now, to just watch throughout the day to become aware of your own speed of having a charge, an affection charge or an aversion charge, and how quickly you project that onto your external world. I mean, I love food. Especially in the lockdown, I'm eating a bit too much. So I live with a husband and 2 teenage boys who both can eat like locusts. It's amazing. And my younger son, he is a great baker. So when I go from my home office, which is on the 2nd floor, down into the kitchen, often it smells there intensively. So I know food is one of those things which triggers immediately affection. Oh, I smell you made bread. Is still something left? Or aversion. Ooh, you are making this strange soup with these weird vegetables I don't like, right? So you can train yourself in your everyday life to become more conscious and aware. It's not about to live in a state where you never have affections or aversions. I believe that's not possible. My point is my request after today that you are aware, conscious, and trained enough by me to not make the core mistake, which is to believe, okay, the other thing, the person, whatever it is intrinsically, like Anne-Marie said, what you project as charge onto them. That's a key thing. I think if everyone would do that, we had no conflicts and no wars in the world. Because when I am responsible, when I'm a true leader, for me, responsibility, maybe it's a German thing. I love the word responsibility. I'm not afraid of responsibility. My issue is more that sometimes I take on too much, which is not good for my health or my body. But responsibility for me is the core of leadership. And so if you really are inspired to be a leader, take on the responsibility for your own charge and the fact that your brain is super fast and that your brain projects that charge. And when you are conscious about it, that doesn't mean that you have to stop it. Maybe it serves you, maybe it fits in that moment. When I go into the kitchen and have the positive charge of, oh, I love that smell of that bread, and I project that and have excitement and hope there's a piece left before my older son has eaten it all. I don't need to stop that. I choose not to stop that. I don't choose to be now a monk without any charge and go into the kitchen and be completely neutral. So it's not that I'm saying affection, aversion, charge, that any of that is bad. I never say these things. I say my goal, my intention, my request for you is to be conscious and aware, because that gives you choice. And for me, having choice is the root and the course of freedom. That's it from my side. Questions, comments? I would love, if possible, I know, Liz, you're driving, so you stay quiet. For those of you who are in a safe place and can talk, I would love to just quickly, from a few or all of you here, what do you take from today? What is your own research project for the next week you take on? Eleonora, it's so wonderful to see you here. Welcome for the first time. What do you take from today?
Nice to meet you. I was invited by Marilena, and I'm glad to be here. Although on Tuesdays, I usually have a course myself. So until May, I won't be regularly able to participate. But so today, I'm here and I'm happy.
Thank you for making it possible.
Yeah, it's really useful what you said. So in my personal view, I constantly judge myself. I'm a judge maniac and I've always been. So for me, it's important to bring this awareness at the end of the day, just to think about how many times I've judged myself, and if so my charge was positive or negative. So today something happened to me in the morning. I'm a teacher, so I'm also subject to the criticism and the judgments of others and continuously. And this morning, so I behaved myself in a way I didn't like it. I didn't like so much. Then I got home and I started to tell my husband, my son, oh, I did that. I'm not so proud of me and I'm a bad teacher. Then I brought this judge mania inside my family. And but then maybe it wasn't anything happens by chance. So maybe now I have an element to reflect upon. I'm really glad I have this chance to let's say I can ease into this feeling. Maybe I would be able to relax more this evening. And yes, it's important. It was a moment, it's something I did, but if I don't judge myself so harshly, maybe I will take responsibility for my actions, but in a more neutral way,
Eleonora, I just got goosebumps several times when you were talking, which for me is always a sign of truth be spoken. I'm so grateful that you had the courage and also vulnerability to share so deep. And you already are fast because you are talking already to the application of all of that to our self-judgments for what we will talk all here together next week more deeply. And you are brilliant, you got it. Everything let's talk today about judging the thing or another person. Obviously, the same mechanisms are when we project an aversion or affection onto us. So you did something this morning, which is the activity, and your brain made this whole analyzation. Was it good? And are you affectionate to yourself? Or was it bad? And now you have aversion against that action. And then your own brain projects that charge, that judgment onto yourself. So now you already said it, now you can distinguish, oh, here am I and my action, and here is my brain, which loves to create a charge and project it. And now as an evolved leader, seeing that these are not the same, I can make a choice. I can allow my brain to judge and project and kill myself internally, or realize, my brain has a charge about that action. Maybe that has to do, and I make it up now, not knowing you well, from a past situation which was similar, from a past experience. Our brain, and we will talk more about it next week, is committed to our safety. So most of the negative judgments and this incessant judge mania comes from the commitment of our brain to protect us. So by you being able to see, okay, this was my action, and my brain created the charge, you can distinguish it now, which gives you the choice to either keep judging yourself or take a deep breath and let go of it. Let go of it and see, wow, this is what I did. And there's another brilliant thing you said. You used the word maybe. This is another training for another time, but I want to underline it because you used the word maybe. But maybe has a bad reputation in a lot of self-development fields and coaching people. I had a lot of coaches telling me not to use the word maybe, and even trainers and mentors. I love the word maybe. Maybe is a wonderful, wonderful, powerful self-management tool where you can, and we go deeper next week, if you can't stop by breathing out or relaxing and releasing your body, if you can't stop this judgment in your head, the word maybe, you can use it to create doubt in that judgment. Maybe what I did this morning was not as bad as my brain makes it right now. Maybe not as many people saw it as I fear saw it. Maybe it was just a little slip. Maybe I should be less hard on myself. Maybe it was a great learning opportunity. Maybe I was an example for my students and they learned something from my mistake. Maybe it was not bad at all. It was perfect. Maybe it was a gift for myself. So with the word maybe, you literally can change your inner dialogue. Marilena, yes.
Yes, I find that very interesting, Sylvia. And I was thinking about reconnecting it to what you started with in this session with the meta communication. So by sharing, Eleonora was sharing this with her husband, who may provide a different view and say out loud that maybe you didn't do so badly, or maybe you can share this with someone who was present in the room and get their understanding of the situation, and then be confronted with a different view, with a different charge, and then see it in a more neutral way. And sometimes that helps to put things into, to see them from a different point of view and from a different light.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, my dear. Anyone else here? What do you take from today? One or two more words? Yes, Rolando, please.
Thank you, Sylvia. Sylvia, mine has to touch on the meta communication. For the best of my knowledge, I understand that many senders of information do not take responsibility for how receivers understand their information. So I believe there are gaps in understanding because we, the senders, usually do not take responsibility for how the receivers understand us. So I believe if we create a platform where we can polish every gray area in our communication, we can help the receivers understand, and then there will not be any gap in understanding. Then execution will be good and top. That's how I also get it.
Beautiful, totally. Yeah, I love how I can sense how deeply you take on the notion of responsibility. And you are totally right. So I'm butchering here a bit our easel post, but I want to show when we have the sender, and the sender has a sphere of responsibility, we are always responsible how we convey things, when we do it, what words we use. So there is a responsibility which literally reaches out towards the other person, the receiver. So we need, as leaders, we need to take ownership and responsibility for how we communicate, and not just, barf out things and don't care how we say it. And living in a different culture, I remember the first months when I moved from Germany to Michigan, I made a lot of mistakes because of cultural insensitivity. And I learned that we Germans are considered to be super straight and tough and harsh talk. I didn't know. I mean, I was German. I lived in Germany. I thought I'm normal. I thought my communication is normal. And suddenly I had people in my neighborhood who were scared of me. I was the German who always talked so tough and straight. And thank God I had a good friend who told me that, because I had no idea. So I needed to take responsibility for that cultural gap. Me, the sender, being my usual honest, straight talk self, and adjust my conversation style to be a bit more gentle and a bit more diplomatic. That's my part, my responsibility, as you, Rolando, so beautifully said. And yet, and here it comes, Rolando, this is what I'm adding, the receiver has always their own responsibility, how they hear, how they unpack, how they interpret what you say. And this is a humble thing. We as senders, when we're in this role of sending, even if we communicate perfectly, let's say you are in a room of 20 people, you prepare your presentation and you do your absolute best, it could be that from the 20 people in the room, 19 understand you and agree that was a perfect presentation, but there's one person you completely lost and was pissed and doesn't like what you said. So we also need to be humble that our responsibility and efforts reach the edge of the responsibility of the receiver, and no perfect communication can be responsible for how the receiver unpacks it. It's like I need to share that, I'm so proud. I sent away my first commissioned painting of my life. I became an artist last year, and my first commissioned painting was shipped from here to the Midwest in the United States. And it was wrapped in bubble wrap, in cardboard. It had a wooden crate. I mean, just the whole shipping, packaging, insurance was nearly $1,000, crazy. So I did what I responsibly on my side could do. And then I sent my client, my recipient, photos of the crate, how it looks, and created a PDF, literally, how to unpack it so that he doesn't, doesn't screw up the painting. Because if you open a crate wrongly with a I don't know the English word, like a lever, and break it open, or the bubble wrap that thick with a knife, you can cut the canvas, right? So I did sending my painting as much as I could, responsibility-wise, then had to trust the shipping company, obviously. And then it ends at the receiver. I was not there when he unwrapped it, but to make a good story, really, and he sent me a little video because he made it an unpacking party with his wife and little girls. I had created a 14-page handbook with rituals, how to unpack the painting, and the little girls were like dancing and popping the bubble wrap. And yeah, so my point is, it was his responsibility how to receive the crate and how to unpack that painting. And that is a nice metaphor for all our communication. So for Bolaño, the few interactions we had with each other, I perceive you as a super high, responsible, amazing communicator. Just know there will always be, sadly, some people who still, makes me furious. My ego is like, how could they not understand me? I was so, humbleness, yeah, responsibility and humbleness, that there's sadly a limit to where it goes. I'm so happy you are part here of our community. And Chamisa, are you both connected? Chamisa, a friend of yours? Because Bolaño, you wanted to invite some of your friends or colleagues?
Yes, Sylvia. I have not connected with Chamisa yet, but I would like to connect with him or her afterwards.
Awesome, awesome. So last chance, another comment voice before we close out here for today. Yes, Lisa.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I was invited by Marilena as well, and it's been great to listen in. And my comment is kind of ties to what you've been saying about communicating. I'm definitely a judge maniac when it comes to communicating, and especially in English, which is my second language. I'm constantly worried that I'm not communicating clearly enough to others, and I constantly judge myself. And on one hand, I agree with Bolaño that it is important that we take responsibility for how we communicate, but at the same time, I would like to not have such a negative charge about it and be neutral, like Eleonora was saying. Because very often I think I just get into my head while I'm speaking, and even if I'm speaking clearly, then I start not speaking so clearly anymore because I'm too busy judging myself. So yeah.
Thank you, my dear. You point to something we will talk next week also about, the power of compassion. To be compassionate with ourselves and with everyone. And now I'm closing the circle to the quote I gave you in the first few minutes. Human communication, to be successful, is a unprobability. I hope that's the right English word. So when a statistical likeliness is very small, is that an unprobability? I hope. So successful communication is an unprobability. So we all, I think, are invited from this whole content to be more compassionate with ourselves. As luminaries, as evolved leaders, we do our best. And our best still has limits. And then there's the other person where we have no control over. I mean, look at social media. I 2 weeks ago, I got horribly trolled, and it took me 48 hours to shake off some energies where I felt triggered, where I was in the beam of a lot of aversion, and I reacted with aversion. Yeah, and this is not what I want. I believe peace. I believe global peace is a real possibility. And one thing we all need is compassion for the human condition, that communication is not as easy as we want it to be. And by you all here, I want to all acknowledge you for being here late evenings in Africa or Italy after full work days, or here in the United States in the middle of your days, to learn, to really learn. There is so much opportunity to drown in superficial reflection, but you all are showing up here. And I know that my content is often abstract or philosophical. It's not the most easiest, stuff you get everywhere. So thank you for being here and having this commitment. And please share our sign up page, juicylifeleader.com free training. This is which you can share with others. There they get then weekly the invitation with the Zoom link to be here. Please stay muted for a moment here. Someone just unmuted themselves. So share it because it's free. And also if people can't be live with us here on the Zoom, then you can tell them to go to our YouTube channel, which, I'm sorry, please make sure you're muted. I can hardly hear myself. Okay, and you can send them to the YouTube channel. Just put in my name, Sylvia Becker-Hill, after youtube.com. And there we have our new channel, the Juicy Life Leader TV. And there's a community empowerment training. CET is the abbreviation for all our Tuesday trainings. We meet here live at this time for now. That might change in a few weeks or months. If I have more of you telling me, Sylvia, we want a different time, I'm here to serve you. I'm willing to change. And in around 48 hours, you always have it on YouTube. My request for this upcoming week till next week, to implement that, to use it as a researcher. When I give you a homework, please don't see me as your teacher and that homework takes time. You just go through your day. You do what you always do, but have that concept, the distinction. Remember at the start, meaning and connotation, that even when people talk about the same thing, you all have different connotations, different stories and relationships to that thing. And then the main distinction we have here, that we talk with words which have meaning, but then the judgment is not connected with the meaning. The judgment comes from the charge. And I want you to just go through your life the next 7 days before we meet again and watch yourself, but also watch others, their body language. It's so, seriously, I love to be a researcher. I love watching other people, and you can see it in their face, in their body language. Oop, now he or she got triggered. Oop, there's the affection charge. There's a positive charge. Yeah, when someone is leaning in, someone gets big eyes. Yeah. Or like, oh my gosh, I triggered that person. There's not you see it. You see it in their face, in their body language, in their tone of voice. And by becoming more aware, this is a core of my philosophy here, teaching you, as more you become aware, you, as more you step into the space of choice, which is the space where your freedom grows. As more free you become, as more liberated you become, I believe as more free and liberated you are, as more powerful you become. And I believe as more free and powerful you feel, as more happy you feel. And I believe happy leaders are better leaders. And that is my mission. This is why I do what we do here. So thank you. I hope to see you next week. And next week will be part 3, where we do everything from last week and this week from today, and focus on stopping the judge mania and being unkind to ourselves. And we will do a beautiful exercise ritual. So next week will be a bit different. I don't know if I will use the easel, but it will be more experiential, and it will be different. I hope you can join us live. Marilena, yes?
Just one thing that I would like to add, if I may, to the homework, because I think this aspect of checking on the body language is very interesting. And so if we are observing the body language and we see that there is some sort of negative reaction to what we've just said, there we can come in with the meta communication and say, I noticed, is there anything that I said, you know, what reaction does this bring to you? And then have that conversation about a possible misunderstanding or about a possible negative reaction that perhaps wasn't intended by us. So,
yeah.
Thanks.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tips to not cause conflicts, because some people are slower with their own awareness of their own reaction than you are seeing it. It could be that often you see the body reaction and you know before they know if they have positive or negative charge. And it can be for some people very humiliating if you say, hey, do I see some negative reaction right now? Don't you like what I just said? So know that you maybe are fast, especially after this training here, and make sure you don't project already what you see and just ask. Just ask that person, hey, please tell me, here I quote now Linda Napier, please tell me in your words what you heard me saying, something like this. Because I tell you, through this training here with me, you will become faster and faster and faster recognizing that. And there are people, I had clients who I had the honor to shadow on the job. And then we had a debriefing and I then mimicked them like how to call it, like an actor. I stepped into them and made their body language as well as I could. They were like falling off their chairs. They were like, what? No way, I never do that. So we humans, we all have blind spots. We often don't feel, if it's habitual, what we are doing. So you might become in the next weeks mind reader. I have sometimes people who ask me, Sylvia, that's a bit creepy. How do you know? Are you a mind reader? Depending who it is, I say yes. So enjoy the research, have lots of fun, bring all your friends and colleagues, and especially here, so happy to see a few men here. We need men. We women, we love men, we need men, and we offer here, not to go into any gender intersectionality discussion here. My point is, we are here to create a global community of men and women who create, as evolved leaders, a world that works for everyone. So please bring your friends and colleagues from the whole gender continuum so that we are here really a growing global community of leaders. Thank you for the honor of spending time with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, stopping the